Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Todd Bowen from sittingposture.com. Welcome to today's video, Computer Posture Mistakes and Fixes, episode 16. Let's take a quick look at the featured photo for this episode. Kind of hard to tell about her posture from this angle, but the thing that jumps out at me and why I included this photo in this episode is because look at the office chair armrests here. They're so far away from her body. That would cause her to flare her elbows out to the side to take advantage of those armrests, and that's really it's not gonna be beneficial at all. I've never sat in an office chair that had beneficial armrests. They've always caused problems for me one way or another because they're just too wide and too far from our body. So she would have to flare her elbow out to the side. That would cause a lot of stress in her upper arm and her shoulder. And of course, everything's connected, so that overuse is just going to keep going through her traps, through the back of her neck, and into her head, causing headaches. I actually wrote an article about this on my website titled "Why Office Chair Armrests Don't Work for Me." I'll put a link to that down in the description of this video, or you could just go to sittingposture.com/armrests if you want to check that video out. That article out, excuse me. All right, here's a good look at a person sitting with their elbows below the desk level. Again, speaking from experience, this caused a lot of issues for me. Their bicep here has to contract in order to lift their hands onto the keyboard and the mouse. So one way to take some of the weight off of that bicep is to raise the chair. I know this is just a temporary position for this person to work in, but if there's any way possible to raise that chair or sit at a desk that's a little bit lower, so that elbow is not below the desk level, that elbow should be above the desk level, even with the keyboard and mouse. So forearms are basically going to be parallel to the floor. When this elbow is below the desk level, this bicep is contracted all day long, and the overuse 8 hours a day for long periods of time over months or years is going to cause pain, probably in the shoulder. That's where it caused pain for me, because these two bicep muscles are connected to the shoulder bone area by two tendons, and those tendons are what gets inflamed, not usually the bicep. The bicep might feel tight, but it's usually not going to feel painful. So we don't even know we're doing this to ourselves until we feel the pain up in our shoulder. Here's a picture of the same user. It looks like also another issue, beside the elbow being below the desk level, it's flared out over here. I used to sit with both of my elbows flared out to put them on the armrest is the main reason I flared them out. But what that did was that caused a lot of tension up in the upper back of my spine. It was just pulling, overuse all the way through the arm and it's got to stop somewhere, and it's got to cause pain somewhere. And it caused pain in my upper back right next to my spine when I would sit with my elbows flared out like this. So I would definitely try. This elbow's a little bit more relaxed, a little closer to their body. So that's a good thing. I would definitely try to see if I could find a way to put both elbows closer to their body. And I'll talk about that a little bit in the next couple slides on ways to do that. Here's a quick look at a laptop. Not much to tell here, but I would mention that the laptop is crooked. This does make a big difference, because if you're turned like that 8 hours a day for long periods of time, that's going to cause shortening of a muscle on one side of the body, and that exact same muscle on the other side of the body is overextended. So that's going to cause a lot of muscle imbalance to sit and work on a laptop or keyboard or anything that's angled like that. Anything that causes our body to turn, it's going to cause a lot of muscle overuse and muscle confusion. So I would definitely try to straighten up that laptop there. Here's a good example of what I was talking about a couple slides ago, how that forearm is like at a 45-degree angle almost, and all the overuse, overextension of all those arm muscles led all the way to my upper back, a muscle in my upper back right next to the spine, just getting terribly overused and terribly painful. So what I would do here is I would push this laptop forward so they can see the monitor a little better, and I would use a Bluetooth keyboard that I was able to pull a lot closer to me, because the reason she's got this laptop so far away from her so she can see the screen, which is understandable, because you don't want to have to look straight down at a monitor screen if you pull the keyboard all the way here. But it would be very beneficial to not have these arms so overextended and to have a Bluetooth or a wireless keyboard here. And that way she could push the monitor farther forward so she could see that better. Here's a good look at a really nice desk setup. I don't know about that chair. I'm not sure about that, but it's got the huge monitor here, which is very beneficial. It's also must be a tall user because they've got a monitor riser. They've got it risen up because that's a pretty big monitor. They've got the pretty flat, slim, low profile keyboard, which is awesome, and they've got the flat, low profile mouse as well. This is a really good setup here. I like what's going on here. Hard to tell without somebody actually sitting in it, but I like what's going on there. All right, here's another good look at someone using that keyboard, and those forearms are at like a 45-degree angle when you look down at them, which is going to cause a lot of issues in that upper back near that spine. That's what it did for me. Again, I would push this forward, and if any way possible, it looks like a temporary position, but if there's a wireless keyboard available, I would definitely use that. If this is the position they work in 8 hours a day. Obviously, if you're just at lunch or in a remote office working for an hour or two, that's different than maybe you're not able to use an external keyboard. But if this is a permanent setup, then that definitely would be beneficial to get an external keyboard. All right, here's a good look at, again, elbows flared out. Seems to be a theme for this episode. So she's got her elbows flared out in order to rest her arm on that desk. Even though her forearm is rested on the desk, muscles up here are being used in order to flare that elbow out. And when she's sitting there 8 hours a day, those muscles become overused. And the reason this elbow is flared out because her chair is too low. Because if she did pull this elbow close to her body, it would be below the desk. That would cause her to contract her bicep, to lift her hands up onto the monitor, onto the keyboard and the mouse, like we talked about earlier. She does have the external monitors, which is good. She's got 2 of them. I would probably lift them up just a little bit because she's looking down at an angle to see the top of her screen. I always try to keep the top of my screen at my eye level, so I would get some kind of a monitor riser for these, like we saw in one of the previous slides. And one final picture to look at. So we've talked enough about mistakes in this video. Let's talk about some picture with only fixes. You can see here that 3 variables remain the same regardless of whether a user is sitting or standing at a computer. There's a lot of variables, but the 3 main variables are eye level is even with the top of the monitor screen in both situations. Elbow is above the desk level in both situations. That forearm is parallel to the floor. It could be a little bit of a downward angle. That's how I actually like to do it, but whatever's comfortable, as long as that elbow is not below the desk level. And finally, the third main variable is feet flat on the floor or a footrest. If this user, I used to sit with my toes on the floor and my heels up in the air back here. What that would do is it would cause me to contract my hamstrings in order to pull my feet back underneath my body, and those hamstrings, just like the biceps, if they're contracted 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, that equals, full time, that equals 2,000 hours a year. So that's an incredible amount of overuse. And we don't feel the pain in the hamstrings. We don't even, they get tight, but we don't know that that's what's causing a lot of pain throughout the knee, throughout the ankle, a lot of muscle confusion all the way throughout the leg. So the 3 main variables: eye level at the top of the monitor screen, elbow above the desk level, and feet flat on the floor or a footrest. Those are the 3 main variables that I follow to work at an ergonomic position. So that's it for today's video, Computer Posture Mistakes and Fixes, episode 16. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're taking a big step forward in improving the quality of your life, and that's something to definitely be proud of. If you want to keep up with all my free content, the easiest way to do that is sign up for free email updates. I don't spam. I only send out 1 email a week on Fridays. And what that email will contain is a link to the article that I wrote for my website that week, as well as the 2 links to the YouTube videos that I posted to my channel that week. And of course, if you want to see my YouTube videos in your feed more often, like this video for me and subscribe to my channel. That helps me out a lot. The more people that see my content, the more ability it gives me to create more content. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching today. This is Todd Bowen from sittingposture.com, Computer Mistakes and Fixes, episode 16. Thanks. We'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.